Netflix has suspended 3 employees, including a trans staff member who publicly spoke out against Dave Chappelle's controversial comedy special, The Closer. The special has come under fire from groups such as GLAAD and the National Black Justice Coalition over jokes that were said to be hurtful, cruel, and/or dismissive of the LGBTQ community. A source said that the employees, including engineer Tara Field, whose Twitter thread about the special went viral, were suspended for attempting to join a quarterly meeting meant only for directors or vice presidents, and not because of Field's tweets. It is absolutely untrue to say that we have suspended any employees for tweeting about this show. Our employees are encouraged to disagree openly, and we support their right to do so. Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos also defended the comedian in a memo that was sent out on Friday, which read in part, "Some talent may join third parties in asking us to remove the show in the coming days, which we are not going to do." The memo continued, "Chappelle is one of the most popular stand-up comedians today, and we have a long-standing deal with him."
Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well today. You'll probably notice this is an offline video. One, because there's no no viewer count, and there's also no chat. So bear with me. I wanted to do a follow-up update video on the Dave Chappelle stuff. Essentially, there has been a lot of stuff kind of happening, and I wanted to just make sure we covered it, and I didn't want to use all of stream for it because there's a lot. So I guess strap in. First and foremost, I want to kind of talk about the response to the Dave Chappelle video. So I will say that a lot of our viewers and a lot of people seem to really like it. We got a lot of really good feedback. It also got a lot of dislikes, at least compared to our normal ones on the channel. We also got a lot of different comments that were really just frankly inappropriate, between ones claiming that, like, apparently I'm engaging in white supremacy, which is news to me, or just flat out being transphobic. There have been some pretty rough ones. I haven't seen all of them. Luckily, we have Thanagor, but the simple fact of the matter is that it's kind of been proving the point, namely that there seems to be these demographics within larger demographics that are conservative, who are hateful, and who do these kinds of lashing out. People very similar to Dave Chappelle. I've also been trying to educate myself more. After the Professor Flowers thing with Vosh and deciding not to post that segment because I felt that that segment wasn't really up to the par of what we normally do, particularly because I didn't feel super educated on it, and I still don't, though I still hold the views that I had based on what I've seen from other Black content creators. And I've been trying to do more about watching Black content creators and trying to understand those perspectives to make sure that I'm not fucking something up. The simple fact is I don't think I am. And after watching a couple different Black content creators, I've kind of come to the realization that what Dave is doing is actually no different than what people like Tariq Nasheed do, or other individuals who are essentially asking for horrific things to be done to LGBT people, or want to reify gender roles. You know, they want to create patriarchy, misogyny, and they are people who are incredibly misogynistic themselves. I mean, you can look at Dave Chappelle's past to just get a clear understanding. One of the big critiques on that video too was the idea that, like, yo, it's just joking, you don't have to watch it if you don't want. No, because those things do demonstrable harm. Anyone who's a member of a marginalized group should know this. No one had to watch minstrel shows, but they still spread messages about the horrible things that were false about African Americans. And in the same way, someone like Dave Chappelle going up on stage and going, well, it's like, female genitalia, but it's not really like, or I'm on Team TERF. That has effects because there's going to be people that are going to watch that and take his side. They're going to believe the same. So yeah, there's no real leg to stand on in supporting Dave Chappelle. To me, any attempt to do so is frankly dishonest or just plain out transphobic. This is not to say that there's not a possibility of rehabilitation. There's not a possibility of learning from this, but I do think it's really important for us to just be super clear that, like, this is not okay. And if you have an issue with that, sorry. I try to speak up for all marginalized people. Just what we do on this channel. Me and Zena are very clear on this. And hey, Bun. And the big thing is that we want to make sure that we are giving the best arguments humanly possible. With all that said, and just kind of updates on how that video was received, let's talk about what's been going on, shall we? Netflix suspends trans employee who tweeted about Dave Chappelle special. Right? Internally, trans employee and allies are asked tough questions about the line between commentary and hate. So if we go to Monsieur Twitter, we can see that, let's go to my profile. And if you look, by the way, if you're not following us on Twitter, follow us on Twitter. By the way, new video out, Sailor J, good stuff. Should have come out as of yesterday when this video drops. You can't hold hands with God when you're masturbating. Wrong. That's why I gave you 2 hands. Sorry, I'm getting ADHD. So this is the individual who ended up getting suspended. Their name is Tara Field. They are a lovely individual, and I stand with them. She has said, and I truly believe this, is that there is no carbon offset for bigotry. One of the reasons why a lot of trans employees of Netflix have been so upset is not only did they allow this transphobia, but, and let's be super clear about this, they are trying to sort of pretend that this doesn't translate to real world harm, and then pretend that because they have a pro-trans documentary on their platform, that those somehow offset one another, when that is not how that works. This is not carbon emissions. This is not anything that would have that kind of system. These are systemic forms of oppression. Just because you put out one movie or one show that is trans inclusive does not mean that it justifies your bigotry. Any marginalized group will tell you about this. You can't be like, man, I love inviting the Black Panthers, but we're also going to invite the KKK. You can't offset these things. You make choices, you fall to them. So Ted Sarandos doubles down on Dave Chappelle's defense. Content does not directly translate to real-world harm. This is demonstrably untrue, considering the suicide rates of trans people, and considering the fact that to hear someone talk about your genitals in that way is really fucking gross. Like, we would never, like, the fact of the matter is that, like, there are comedians who are just better at this and have and just have far more capability with this. So, again, I work at Netflix. Yesterday, we launched a Dave Chappelle special where he attacks the trans community and the very validity of transness, excuse me, all while trying to pit us against each other, against other marginalized groups. You're going to hear a lot of the term offense. We are not offended. True. It's not a question of offense. It's a question of angry. We deserved better. To simply call this offense is just, I'll be honest, it's the colloquial term gaslighting. If you actively think that we're just like, we're just mad, you're an idiot. I'm sorry, you just are. So one day after the story was published, Netflix reinstates suspended employees. The company's trans employee resource group is planning a walkout on October 20th. Pog. Love walkouts. Love solidarity. That's cool. The tweet thread went viral, quickly spiraling into a conversation about free speech and cancel culture. Netflix then suspended Field along with 2 other employees trying to attend a director-level meeting they weren't invited to. Another trans employee is quitting the company over how the special and Field's comments were handled. True. So, again, this is the thing, like, the people who are arguing on behalf of Chappelle are just, I'll be honest, they're just intellectually dishonest. The simple fact is what he said was just gross, and if the similar analogous thing had said by any creator about a black person, I would have been just as angry. Right? Let's see here. We repeatedly provide a platform for content that is harmful to the trans community, wrote a current employee of Netflix's open Q&A document. These decisions have a material impact on our business, including harm to our current employees, talent declining to our work with us. What is our plan on how we are going to repair the situation in particular? None of the questions seen by The Verge asked for the special to be taken down. Right? So you can't offset a carbon offset for bigotry. And this is where we get into this idea that you can't fix this. The only thing you can do is try to repair it. You can try to earn back trust. But the simple fact is, it's like, it just gets worse. So, despite having these inclusive titles like sex education and disclosure, the simple fact is that even disclosure director Sam Fedard also tweeted that Netflix rented the documentary for half of what it was made to cost. So a documentary pro-trans was bought at half the cost. They nickel and dimed that too. Right? So as you keep going through this, you realize that there is a very real problem here. This is the definition of systemic form of bigotry. Because we're not just dealing with Dave Chappelle saying dumb shit on stage. We're dealing with the systems around Chappelle that allow him to be able to say these things in front of a camera, the immense amounts of money this man earns for this. He is not canceled. There's no such thing as canceling. Shut the up. The fact is, trying to swear less because I don't want it to get demonetized. The simple fact is like, this is the same with the J.K. Rowling thing. Oh, they canceled J.K. Rowling. They didn't cancel shit. They called her out for stuff. Some people went overboard, but the simple fact of the matter is that J.K. Rowling, by all definitions, wrote a hit piece against trans kids. And then tried to use her alleged abuse as a justification for her bigotry. A typical TERF move. Let's see. So this is his thing. I'm not going to go through all of it. You can look it up. But essentially the thing is that he basically says these are uncomfortable conversations and, we have all these shows, so that's cool and it's good and yada yada. So that's the first part. Here's the next part. Trans worker who criticized specialist Chappelle is suspended. That's what happened. That's just a thing. Dear Dave Chappelle, transgender comedians can take a joke, but why are you so unfunny? By Dahlia Bell. Let's see what this lovely person has to say.
Dear Dave, we are both comedians. I guess that makes me a member of your tribe. I'm sure you've never heard of me, though, and I can think of at least 3 reasons for that. I'm black, I'm a woman, I'm transgender, i.e. a trans. No, I'm not writing in hopes of someday opening for you. In fact, I can't think of anything I have ever wanted that you could possibly offer me, least of all an apology. I don't need an apology for all the trans jokes. I'm 40 years old.
Same.
You think I've never heard a trans joke? Years before I knew trans was an available identity, I knew trans were punchlines, and that's what's got me, and my peers, salty about your latest special, The Closer.
Sorry about the T-slur.
I'm Team TERF, Dave Chappelle under fire over pro J.K. Rowling trans stance. Read more. I am legitimately thankful for Chappelle's special for one reason. I've always been a bit self-conscious that the first 15 minutes of my hour special are trans jokes, but now that he spent over an hour on LGBTQ people, I feel pretty good, said Robin Tran. Or, as my friend and fellow comedian Jeffrey J. put it, each time I hear that Dave Chappelle has a new special, I feel sad. Not because I know the trans jokes are coming, but because I know the same trans jokes are coming.
One joke.
Watching The Closer reminded me of just how influential you had been on my early stand-up and understanding of comedy. Your formulaic joke structure and all too predictable edgelord punchlines took me right back to my very first year performing at open mics. But hey, you've been doing this for 33 years. That's no small achievement. It only makes sense that you might run out of new ideas. Even so, as a longtime fan, something I always admired about comedy was its ability to push boundaries and challenge norms. Now it's 2021, and I think we can all agree that bitter old men griping about progress are killing comedy. Were I to bitch and moan about people having taken offense at a previous set, I would be rightly booed off stage. And you know what? I'd be grateful, because I'm a comedian, and criticism is how we grow. So watching your special, I couldn't help but think, this dude is 48 years old, been doing comedy for 33 years, and still hasn't built up a thick enough skin to take criticism? It's rather sad, actually, because as comedians it's our job to say shit for money. There's no obligation on anyone else to approve of the stupid shit we say, which brings us to our next issue. After coming on stage, you rightly call attention to your status as rich and famous, which is the only reason anyone gets a laugh break for black people beating up Asians. Hate crimes aren't so much a joke as an American way of life. It would be like getting a laugh break for saying, I drank a cup of coffee. This is, of course, only the first of many more basic jokes to come.
Yeah, so what this person is clearly saying is that the problem is transphobes have one joke. They always had one joke. It's the helicopter joke or some variation, or it's the you're not this joke. They all fall in the same camp. It's validation, right? It's pointing out some believed hypocrisy or believed notion of falseness. The problem is that this person's right. Hate crimes aren't so much a joke as they are American way of life. They just are, because we've let them become this way. This is why there's so many people out there that have the stupid take that this is fine. Well, one, they don't understand free speech. They just don't. You get to be criticized, full stop. Second off, they don't understand that what words do harm. Words are the way you pull people to your ideology. Words are the way you psych up a mob. Words are the way that you tell people that the individuals coming across the border are rapists and murderers, because that is what the president did, and look how he treated immigrants for the fucking 40 years, including ignoring amnesty. So yeah, no, this shit has a very measurable effect. Let's go on.
What's it called when a troll says every offensive thing they can think of to distract their audience from the shitty belief they're trying to defend? Deflection?
Nice.
Yeah, that's the best section of what devolves into a TED Talk for TERFs, starting with your tortuous claim to being a feminist, for the first time ever. To be fair, your observation about white America being more appalled by black people repeating, on stage, what we've heard our black mothers say than they are by a black man murdering another is valid. Problem being, in this context, it's only about as valid as, say, what about black on black crime? You cunningly ask your audience, is it possible that a gay person can be racist? Obviously, the answer is yes, and obviously that has nothing to do with your comedy being outdated, transphobic, and, frankly, hack.
Nice.
In an honest debate, you can't simply use racist, white, gay, male interchangeably with LBGT, which is also not synonymous with the trans. Since you also enjoy Google, I recommend the following terms: straw man, gaslighting, and Mott and Bailey fallacy. Also, just to be petty, you owe me royalties for that Mike Pence is gay joke. I wrote it 4 years ago, when it was first relevant.
So what I really love about this part is it brings up a really good point. Is it possible a gay person can be racist? Yes, and I would say that that gay person would be in fucking error. They would be called the fuck out. The problem is that I've heard this a lot from the comments, is saying things like, well, you know, there's very real racism within the LGBT community, and I don't disagree. There can be. There absolutely can be. One of the reasons why we push so hard on the notion of intersectionality is so that members of the community who are also people of color get seen, get noticed, and that we acknowledge that those different intersections create privileges that some of us have and some of us don't, which are really shitty, and that's unfortunate. But the fact is that it's a dodge, right? Deflection, like this person said. The idea that, yeah, can a gay person be racist? Sure. But can a black person be homophobic? Yeah, we discussed that and basically proved that in our previous video. There is an issue within the black community of not really, knowing how to deal with LGBT people. This comes from deeply conservative and Christian roots within the black community. To say that, yeah, can a gay person be racist? Sure, but a black person can be just as homophobic or transphobic. And that's literally what Dave Chappelle did. You don't get to have it both ways. You don't get to say, oh, well, look, there's tons of issues within the gay community. There is. But we're not talking about that right now. What we're talking about is this thread of conservatism, misogyny, and transphobia that Dave Chappelle is not only speaking to, but is sort of emblematic of a probably at least somewhat larger problem. How larger? Probably not huge, but it does seem to be a thread within a lot of conservative and Christian communities. There's a reason why evangelicals are out of their fucking minds trying to screw over trans people. This is just how it is. So as you go on to this, you can keep looking at this and basically just come to the realization that, again, Chappelle's jokes are just the same ones in line, right? They're just the same ones we always hear, the same stuff. And again, I'm not going to go through this because it does use words that are inappropriate, but I do want to finish this and just say that I really appreciate this person writing this because these words matter. I'll read their last paragraph because I think that hits the nail on the head. In a community with an abnormally high rate of depression and suicide, that's the part that hurts. Every transgender person I know has lost someone by suicide, and rarely has the reason ever been what other trans people have said to them on Twitter. Hell, you said it yourself, Dave. Twitter isn't real. The marginalization, mockery, dehumanization, and violence many of us face every day of most of our lives is what fuels our despair. For you to use Daphne's tragedy, person who's sadly no longer with us, as your closing tag is the only thing you've ever done that made me angry enough to write a letter. I mean, that's pointed. Damn. Again, this isn't... Davis framed this as like the LGBT community versus the black community, but it's not. I stand with black people in regards to fighting inequality. I support BLM. I literally am trying to bring up these issues at every chance I get. The reason I don't speak on black issues as much is because I don't feel super educated in them, and I don't want to misspeak, or I don't want to speak for people who may be able to do better than I can. I'd like to learn more, and I'm trying to learn more. But again, I'm a big fan of the notion of, again, I stay in my wheelhouse unless I feel like I've done enough research on a thing. And again, I'm trying to do that, but bear with me. We get into a GQ article talking about Dave's betrayal, getting into this notion of it feels like a stab in the back. Again, I will post this in the links below. Trans employees at Netflix, we just talked about this, plan walkout even as one activist is reinstated following suspension. So again, they brought back Tara Field. Good for her. Glad that because people were watching, they decided to do something. But again, if they're really organizing and they want to GTFO, I think that's great. In the special, Chappelle addresses critiques he's gotten from the LGBTQ community, then doubles down on his jokes about trans people. The stand-up set has been widely slammed by trans activist groups like GLAAD, right? And the National Black Justice Coalition. Damn. Right? So this is the thing. So you have to understand this is that this isn't an LGBT group versus a black people issue. This is an issue of all of us on the same boat. It's one of the reasons why I reach out to every leftist I can, is because the simple fact of the matter is we are all in this together. Even if I disagree with someone. I disagree with Diva Mama on some stuff. I disagree with lots of people on stuff. But the disagreement isn't the point. The point is working towards solutions. Solutions that we can compromise on and work towards for the betterment of everything. And I do feel like this kind of gets to the point, right? Posted this yesterday. Thanks to the lovely person who posted it, Brandy Bryant. Fucking cool ass tag. My trans jokes are better than Dave Chappelle's trans jokes. Everyone assumes that trans women want to go into women's sports because we want to beat up women. If that were true, we wouldn't have transitioned. We would have become cops. Just saying. So, with that said, I need you guys to think more clearly about this. And I would just say is like, if you're going to post to the channel because you're upset, come with a good argument. If you just yell some transphobic thing, or you don't really want to engage in a way that is meaningful, it's just going to get deleted. I'm never going to see it. I do see some of the funniest ones. Those I get to see. Those are great. But that's just mostly because they're really dumb. But I just want you guys to understand this. This stuff matters. And I might misstep. I might say something that is uncouth. I might screw up. I'm human. And I'm fucking 40. I have done my best to get rid of my own implicit biasing, especially in regards to growing up the way I did. But I really truly believe we are all in this together, every marginalized group. The simple fact of the matter is that the people who would have Dave Chappelle in chains are the same people that would want me dead for degeneracy. I want to be able to stand with people like that. I want to be able to move against them. I want to move against the people who would have us both hurt. Even if I screw up, even if I'm not the best ally, I do want to be an ally. And that means you have to hear us too. That means you have to be willing to acknowledge that this is screwing people over, and not just Black or LGBT, but there are members of the LGBT community who are people of color, and they struggle and they suffer, and it sucks. When you hear someone like Dave Chappelle say these jokes, those people get separated in some ways, disconnected from a part of themselves, because Dave is creating this dividing line. It's not fair. It's harmful. It's hurtful. So, apologize if my voice is a little out of it today. I've been working all fucking week. But I do love you guys, and I'm sorry if this was a little rambly. I wanted to update you on some of the things that have been going on. I'm really saddened by this one, and I was really saddened by the responses. I don't think I say anything too spicy about this stuff. I don't think I say anything too off. There are real issues with the way that different groups interact. And I think we need to address them. And whether that's addressing some of the ways that conservative religious ideals, Christofascism, creeps its way into different groups, if that means acknowledging that, homophobia and transphobia are by definition psychological pathology, essentially, in my mind. They are things that, and again, that's not really diagnosing. I'm not armchair psychology. This is me using that as hyperbole. Shut up. But they're errors of the mind. They're distorted thinking. It's somehow thinking that the love between two men or the love between two women is somehow bad, wrong. It's not. It's awesome. It's love. Love is one of the things that makes being human good. Or just because someone wants to perform gender differently than you do, why is that a problem? As I've told people before, when they come out to their families, they go, oh, I'm going to be a burden. I'm going to be this. And I say, you're really just giving them a data update. Like, it's literally just getting an update on your Xbox, right? Like, it's just name, pronouns, and that. So, anyway, I'm rambling. This discourse is not going to go away, guys. It's going to keep happening. But, good news. One last announcement I'll make at the end of this video. So if you saw this and you're in the comments, tell me if I screwed up anything. Nicely. Good faith. But also, put a little heart in your comment so I know you saw this. Cool? So I know you watched till the end, because I want to know who's doing that. So, we are in the process of making a website. I've contacted White Nervosa, and we are going to be having something very similar to what Demon Mama or Vosh has. Of course, we'll have our own style, our own flair, but it will fix the big chat issue that I've been struggling with, because Discord transferring to Streamlabs is fucking awful. So, so that's all I've got. I apologize for the rambling. I'm a little out of it today, but I really wanted to talk about this stuff because I don't think I'm asking a lot, and I don't think we have to be this divided about this stuff. I think we need to speak out against anyone who believes in ethnostates, anyone who wants to keep up the oppressive aspects of patriarchy, which harm both men and women and non-binary people. I think we can all stand against people who want to take away the liberty of anyone, whether that is through placing people back in chains or forcing them into gender roles or relationships that they don't want. Everyone deserves freedom. Everyone deserves these things. It's just, that's my belief. So anyway, I love you all. Thanks for tolerating me, and we will see you on Sunday. All right? Bye.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. You can also ring the bell if you want to be notified of our videos. If you want to help the channel, you can donate at streamlabs.com/transgirltherapist/tip. You also can become a patron at patreon.com/transgirltherapist. As low as $3, you can support our channel. Thanks for watching.